The night my best friend Michael disappeared, the air felt strangely heavy, like the world itself was holding its breath, and looking back, maybe it knew something we didn't. For weeks before it happened, Michael had been acting like a glitching human, forgetting conversations we had just minutes earlier, staring at his hands like they didn't belong to him, and sometimes freezing mid-sentence as if someone paused him. I thought it was stress, maybe burnout from work, but he insisted it was deeper, saying he felt less real every day. At first, I laughed, but then small things started happening. We would go to the grocery store together, and the cashier would greet me warmly, but look right through him as if he weren't standing 2 feet away. On the bus, people would sit down in his seat, even though he was clearly occupying it, and he'd have to move out of the way like a ghost nobody could see. The scariest moment was when his own manager called me, asking if I'd seen him because he hadn't shown up in over a week. Except he had every day, and he even showed me texts from her that apparently vanished from both their phones. His existence was slowly erasing itself. One night he called me at 3:12 a.m., voice shaking, whispering that his reflection blinked. After, he did. When I rushed to his apartment the next morning, he looked pale and shadowed, like the light around him had dimmed permanently. He said he'd been waking up in different positions than where he fell asleep, as if something moved him. That same day, I noticed his shadow lagging behind him, half a second too slow, like it was trying to catch up. He tried to joke about it, but he laughed with no emotion behind his eyes. On Friday, everything changed. We met at the old abandoned parking garage where we used to hang out as teenagers. He looked worse. His clothes seemed slightly desaturated, his voice softer like a bad microphone. When I tried to take a selfie of us for old time's sake, he came out blurry. Not blurry from motion, blurry like the camera couldn't fully detect him. He stared at the photo for a long time before quietly asking, "Do you think I'm dying? Or do you think I'm being deleted?" I didn't know how to answer. That evening, he insisted we go to his childhood home because he said he wanted to confirm something. We drove there in silence, and when his mother opened the door, she smiled at me warmly, but her face went blank when she looked at him. She asked me why I was standing there alone. I tried to explain, stepping aside so she could see him, but her confused expression never changed. She swore she only had one son, Michael's younger brother. When I asked where Michael's childhood photos were, she looked genuinely disturbed. "Who is Michael?" she asked, hand trembling slightly. We searched the house together. His room was transformed, clean, empty, redecorated as a gym storage room. We opened old family albums. He wasn't in a single photo, not even the group ones he had showed me years ago. His brother came home and didn't remember him either. Michael watched it all silently, not crying, not angry, just tired. "See," he whispered, "I told you. I'm not supposed to be here." That night, he asked me to stay with him at his apartment. We tried to distract ourselves with movies, but every time I looked at him, he seemed dimmer. Around 2 a.m., he dozed off on the couch, and I watched as his body flickered, just for a fraction of a second, transparent enough for me to see the pattern of the sofa through him. I didn't sleep at all. At sunrise, he woke up confused, asking where we were, what time it was, and even who I was for a moment before snapping back. The fear in his eyes was pure and real. "I don't think I'll be here tomorrow," he said softly. "Just don't forget me." I promised I wouldn't. I should have never made that promise. Because the next morning when I returned to his apartment, the door was wide open. The living room was empty. Not cleaned. Empty, as if no one had ever lived there. No lamp, no couch, no dishes, no clothes. Even the dust on the floor looked undisturbed. I checked the whole building. Neighbors said the apartment had been vacant for months. I insisted they were wrong, describing him in detail, but they only gave me sympathetic looks. When I went to the landlord's office, the system showed the apartment had no tenant since last year. I asked about the phone number he used to call me every day. The carrier said it wasn't in service. Every trace of him had dissolved into nothing. I called the police, desperate, but when they asked for his full name, I couldn't say it. My mind went blank. I remembered him, his face, his laugh, our moments. But his name slipped like water through my fingers. I ran outside in panic, trying to write his name in my notes app, but my hand froze. Every time I tried, my fingers shook violently, like my body rejected the idea. I broke down, crying, whispering his name over and over, until I suddenly realized I couldn't even remember what letter it started with. But I remembered him. His disappearance haunted me. The next days were a blur of fear and confusion. His social media accounts vanished, our old chat logs were gone, and every picture we took turned into photos of empty rooms or just me standing alone. Except one. One last photo remained untouched, a picture of us at the beach when we were 17. In that one, he was still there. But the next morning when I checked again, he had faded halfway out of the picture, his body transparent, the ocean showing through his chest. That's when I started hearing whispers at night. Not words, just a familiar tone, like someone trying to speak from underwater. Sometimes I feel someone lightly touching my shoulder when I'm alone. Sometimes I see a vague, human-shaped shadow in the corner of my room that disappears when I turn my head. And sometimes, when I'm half asleep, I hear a voice whisper, "Don't forget me." But the truth is, I am forgetting him. Slowly. Day by day. His face is fading in my memory the same way it faded from reality. I don't know why he disappeared. I don't know what he was or what force erased him. But the worst part is the fear creeping inside me that maybe he was right. Maybe he wasn't meant to exist here. And maybe I'm not either. Because lately people have started bumping into me more often. Cashiers forget to hand me my change. Automatic doors don't open fast enough. And last night, when I looked into the mirror, I swear my reflection blinked after I did.